a true social entrepreneur. My guest today continues to work tirelessly to help individuals and teams thrive at the intersection of success and significance. A recognized and award-winning motivational speaker, his trainings on leadership, personal growth, diversity, and service inspire and equip audiences around the world to be more and give more. He's also the founder and executive director of EduCongo, a U.S.-based nonprofit organization where he devotes energy to generating awareness and support to provide equality education for over 2,000 underprivileged children in the Congo. He and his wife, Stacy, are also proud parents of two boys, Yenga and Senda. My guest is Lou Radja. I'm Aiden Nipam, and this is the Changed Podcast. Welcome. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and to unpack wherever this conversation takes us.
I love the spirit of willingness to just go where the conversation flows. I love that.
Absolutely.
Well, I have some curiosities here. First thing, I would love for you to share a little bit about what you do with EduCongo.
EduCongo is a US-based nonprofit supporting quality education in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Education has been our ticket, if you will. My father came to the United States in 1967 with the help of Presbyterian missionaries, and he went from Congo, Central Africa, to the College of Worcester in Ohio. My
had to be
mom,
a difference in culture.
Right?
Yeah,
For sure.
Ohio.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom, the smarter of the two, she got a scholarship in '68 that took her from Congo to Vassar College in New York. So my parents both came to America, did not know each other, and got their college degrees here. Before going back to the Congo. And I was born in Boston while they were having their advanced degrees, if you will. And my older brother was born, and then I was born. So by birth, my brother and I are the two Americans in a family of Congolese. And so then we went back home, and I grew up there until 17. So education has always been the ticket. And the way my father puts it, when you take the elevator to the top, always send it back down for someone else. And so starting a school was our way to say thank you for our own journey, but democratizing opportunity for all. So that's what it's about.
I love that. That's a beautiful expression. When you take the elevator to the top, send it back down for someone else. That's beautiful. So how long have you been involved? When did you start EduCongo?
Oh, this is 2001, 2002. We had 198 boys and girls and 3 classrooms in Lubumbashi, which is the commercial capital of the Congo, but we were in the outskirts where underprivileged children could use the opportunity more than anyone else. And here we are, I guess, 18 plus years later, over 2,000 students from kindergarten to high school. And it's a lot of work, but it's also super rewarding.
That's wonderful. And is your dad involved with that as well?
Absolutely. He is everything. My father is my hero. My father is the inspiration behind it all. And he's 77 years young. And he's at the school every single day. And he's a professor at the University of Lubumbashi, and education is his jam. But he's also a psychologist, which is not good for me, but good for a lot of people. So anyway,
I think this is something I think this is something you and I actually really have in common, because my work is heavily involved with my father's legacy. He's a little younger than your dad. Don't tell your dad. He's only 70.
Oh,
Yeah. And you know
Yeah.
what? I think he has less pain than I do. Like I have like dancing and jumping up and down. His 70th birthday, he put on some music and he was just like jumping up and down like he was at a concert. It was amazing. I can't do that.
Right, right. Well, I don't think my dad is jumping around right now. So he has a few stories, chronic pain management stories.
You know, life's a journey, and we all have our interesting learning, unexpected learnings. For me, that's one of them, as well as the ones that we pursue on purpose, which of course brings me to the topic of the day, or of literally every podcast episode, which is this idea of change.
Mm,
What's your personal relationship with change? Is change easy, interesting, weird, difficult? How do you feel about just sort of this broad idea?
exciting, exciting. Oh my goodness. I For me, change only does two things. Change can happen to you or it can happen for you. Pick one. And I've chosen the four, not two, because when change happens to you, you're likely to be a victim and reactive. But when change happens for you, it's more proactive and something that will be advantageous. And so I love difference. I love going to a new restaurant. I love trying something different, traveling, learning another language, anything that will bring excitement and growth. So I really love change.
That's awesome. Um, that being said, surely there have been changes that happened to you.
Oh, absolutely.
How do you process those?
Well, dancing in the rain, Aiden, that's what we do.
Spoken
we,
like a
we
real Oregonian.
right? We dance in the rain. I mean, life sucks. Things happen, and you have to respond. My father always says, "It's not what happens to you that matters; is how you respond that matters." Right. So at the end of the day, I get just as many bad days as the next person, if not more. But the attitude that says, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, right? So at the end, you still have to dance. Vivian Green, I believe, is the one that said, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. Life is about learning how to dance in the rain. And I believe that. Growing up in the Congo, a lot of hardship, a lot of pain. We grew up under a dictator. We had a lot of challenges. I mean, we can do 10 podcasts for that. But again, my dad's mindset, which I'm grateful to him for instilling it in me, was always how you respond. So I don't really care too much about the things that happens to me. I care about how I would respond to it. So that way, you can always turn adversity into advantage.
You mentioned growing up under a dictator and being a resident of Portland, Oregon. Currently, we're experiencing what I think might be a tremendous opportunity for growth and change in the country. That's how I'm choosing to view it. That being said, a lot of people in my social network have been talking a lot about dictatorship and drawing
Mm,
comparisons to our current leadership. And this is not a political podcast, but I
mhm.
can't help but wonder, as a person who lives in two worlds, as you
Yes.
seem to be to me, if
Yeah.
if you have any thoughts or reactions to those types of comments, or to what's happening.
Absolutely. I always say Africa gave me my roots, America gave me my wings. America has challenged me in terms of my growth. Africa has given me my core essence. When I juxtapose my reality back home in the Congo and here, I see a lot of room for improvement on both sides of the Atlantic, right? I see room for improvement in the Congo. I see room for improvement in the US. I think the American experience is really a promise. It's a promise that we work our asses off every day to live up to. We are not perfect. We were never perfect. In fact, it's more evident now than ever. But the ideal, the promise of America is what you see people on the street trying to make sure they hold people accountable to live up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an individual challenge. That's a collective challenge. And so when you see federal forces coming in and impeding on people's freedoms and rights, that is a rabbit hole spiral that I don't want to go into. And so I am always on the side of the bottom, not the top. So I'm hoping that the people can always come through and not the other way around.
Yeah, thank you. I know that's tricky territory to tread in a recorded setting, but your comments super resonate with me, which is maybe not a surprise as an Oregon resident. When I think about what how our government is currently showing up, I also see there is room for improvement in terms of fulfilling the American promise. That's a beautiful way to articulate that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So I invited you to tell a story. I'm excited. Speaking of change, speaking of pivotal moments, would you, Lou, share with us a story from your real life of a moment of pivot or change?
The biggest one, at least the one that really shifted my life, was coming to America in 1993. To have 17 years of my existence in the Congo, where I looked like everybody. I spoke French, Swahili, Lingala, and Chiluba, and I blended very well. And then 3 airplane rides later, I am in Ashland, Oregon, of all places.
I'm
Right?
laughing because Ashland is where I grew up, and I'm very familiar with that town. My parents are still there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Shakespeare town.
And of course, you and I were in the same class, so I'll let people in on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was a culture shock, to say the least, to find myself in this place in Southern Oregon where I stood out for challenging reasons. Let me put it that way, and had to adjust, learn a new language, find myself a junior at Ashland High School, meeting people that looked different than me, sounded different than me, and came from a different background, and trying to learn the language and do well in school. Sports was helpful, playing soccer and playing basketball, because those are all universal sports. Everyone can always chase a ball. So that brings you closer a lot faster. So made a lot of good friends then. But some of the early challenges, being Black in Ashland, Oregon, definitely brought a heightened awareness of the realities that happen here for not only Black people, but people of color. And therefore, I saw just how significant my dad was in my life, because he worked so hard to instill in me a sense of self-reliance, self-love, self-awareness that would help me go through a lot of my early challenges in the US. Because when you come to America, you have a dream, right? You have this ambitious goal, and you're coming here to take your life to another level, to accomplish as much as you possibly can. And you get so caught up in that idealism that you forget the price that comes with it. And so that was a cold bucket of water that I got. But it was definitely my biggest shift in my life so far, coming here, for sure. And I got a job. I got my first job at Albertsons, a grocery store, out, Tolman Creek, Siskiyou Boulevard area there. And I was super happy to be able to contribute and help my family. And so I was bagging groceries. Paper or plastic is what I said all day, and walk people to their cars if they had, too many things, and so on. And then about, I don't know, a couple months into it, it's around 3 p.m. I leave my apartment and I'm walking over to Albertsons, and, I got my polo shirt, with my name tag tucked in my black jeans. And I see 4 police cars coming full speed. And I'm super excited about it because I'm naive. I'm thinking I'm going to see some action, something out of a movie. And so I'm just standing by the side of the road like, uh-oh, what's about to happen? And the first car pulls in front of me, the second, the third, and the fourth. And one police officer draw his gun, and
oh my God,
I completely freeze. And my heart is beating outside of my chest. My arms are in the air. My hands are in the air. My legs turn into noodles. And you literally are asking yourself, is this it? And this is barely 2 months into coming to America. And I stood there and I'm not moving, just looking at him. And the police officer starts walking towards me. And one of the things he said was, "We're not stopping you because you're black." Unsolicited comment for sure. And at that point, I could care less. I'm like, I just want to know if I'm going to live or not. That's my biggest concern. And long story short, there was a lady that, I don't know, her purse got stolen, and I guess I fit the description according to what was shared. That was my welcome to America on the negative side, not on the positive side, for sure.
Holy crap.
Absolutely.
And knowing what I know about the area, it's not surprising. It's disappointing. That somebody would say that you fit a description in Ashland, Oregon is pure fiction. Because literally we had 2 black kids at the high school. One of them graduated, and then you transferred from Africa, keeping our ratio exactly the same. So it's right. Like that you would fit a description is totally BS. That's upsetting. And I can't imagine, like, hello, welcome to America. That's bonkers.
Well, I grew up with a Ubuntu philosophy. Ubuntu is spelled Ubuntu, and it's our common humanity, our interdependence. So what's wrong with Ashland? I am. What's right with Ashland? I am. So therefore, it's the full human spectrum. I experienced it all. I had amazing experiences in Ashland, Oregon, met amazing people. I'm talking to one of them. And so it's the story of life. And so my job is to amplify the good and work my tail off to mitigate the unfortunate side of humanity. And so that's, you take that in context. You don't let such an experience paint a picture for the entire region. I mean, I've had all sorts of stories. I mean, remember, we had to get on these buses to go play games, to places like Roseburg,
Oh,
Grants
right.
Pass,
Good Lord.
Klamath Falls. So I have stories for days, but in a way, in
Right,
a
because
way,
compared to those other towns, Ashland is the liberal town amongst that collection of names of towns. And so, in terms of
absolutely.
open arms, you would have experienced theoretically a lot more of them at home.
Yeah, well, it's a tapestry. This is life, and we're able to navigate both quite well.
That's a beautiful way of describing that. How did you process that moment? How did you get, I mean, so you're 2 months in, it'd be very easy to jump to a conclusion about an entire town from a singular experience, which it sounds like there were more later.
Mhm.
How do you digest that?
Listen, my silver bullet answer to everything is Ubuntu. I mean, that's it. I
Okay,
don't have
all
any
right.
other answer. So it's all my dad helping me understand this. Before I even came to America, I was already prepared. And in a way, you understand how people are, how life is, how life works, power structure, people who amplify division and difference. And so you knew that you were going to stand out, and that's going to create positive and negative experiences. But you don't lose your humanity in the process. So after that incident, I went in and I asked for just a little break to gather myself. And my manager gave me that. And then later on, I told my dad about it, and we talked it out. And then we made a trip down to the police station the next day to talk to the police chief about the incident and how unfortunate it was. And I have a standard letter that's in a shoebox upstairs somewhere from that incident. But that was the experience. But I'm happy that it happened early because I was pretty much I used it as a case study for all the other things that happened later. But we don't have time for all that right now.
Oh my God. Well, Lou, thank you for sharing that story. I don't know if that's a vulnerable share for you or not, because when you tell it with such grace. So it's difficult to tell for me how vulnerable it is to share that. But I appreciate you sharing it nonetheless, because I think first of all, understanding other people's experiences in this country is uh, a great way to expand one's understanding, right? Like my experience of Ashland was this way, this one specific sliver. Your experience
Right.
was your specific sliver. You know, uh, anyone else in our class had their slivers of their reality. And when you add them together, like you said, you get that tapestry of what life actually looked like at that time in that place.
Yeah, and full circle though. Just a few months back when the world was still normal and people interacted with one another.
Oh,
Um,
oh, the before times, the way
right.
back days.
Exactly. Exactly. It was just a normal afternoon, and I'm in my office working, and my phone rings, and it's my oldest son, Yanga, who is calling me to tell me that the school bus broke down and that he was going to walk with his friends the rest of the way home. And now that's just a normal phone call, but we live out in the Bethany Cornell area, Beaverton area, and it's a residential
Mm-hmm.
walk, if you will. And Aiden, my heart just dropped. I just a sense of fear, a sense of panic. So I closed down the office, got in my car, and sped like crazy, and went through his route. And the moment of relief to just see him. And mind you, I'm not trying to I get him all panicked about it. So I show up and I go, oh, hey, I was just in the neighborhood driving back.
just
So,
playing it cool. Oh,
yeah,
it just happened to be coming
right.
through.
And so, hey, can I give you guys a lift? So I took him and all of his friends and I just went to drop him off. But that is just, it's the trauma of our lived experience.
Mhm.
And we just, over the years, kind of, develop a way to manage it, but it's always there. So that's a constant that hopefully maybe when my kids have kids, they won't have to deal with it. But for now, it's still as real as this conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't really have anything to add to that that would be helpful. But other than my shared wishes and dreams, and that we all carry a responsibility here, every single, I love this idea of Ubuntu. Am I saying that
Yes. Yes,
weirdly?
you said right. Absolutely.
I said it right. I love it. I think it makes perfect sense. And it's fitting with how I was raised as well, that um, the idea that I was raised with was spaceship Earth, but that we're all on the same blue ball
Yes.
in the universe together. This idea that somehow we could get away from each other is so ridiculous. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Ubuntu says that my humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be humans together. No one wins or loses in
mhm.
isolation. And therefore I need to see myself in you and I need to see you in myself. And when that happens, according to my grandpa, that's when you're truly human. And I think being human is a lost art. And our job is to always trying to remind people of it. And that to me is the answer to all of our challenges, because we focus so much on our differences, even though genetic studies continues to show us that we're 99.9999999 the same,
Yeah,
and yet we put all of our effort in that point one tenth of
teeniest
one
little
percent.
bit. Yeah.
That's where we live, and it drives us absolutely nuts. And we completely ignore the 99.9. And Ubuntu versus that is the idea of appreciating what we have in common. And when we do that, it's a lot harder for me to have a us versus them mentality.
It's beautiful. So, uh, looking forward, um, a generation from now, 2 generations from now, like
Right.
what changes would you love to see this country make? I don't have enough context to understand what changes the Democratic Republic of Congo would need to go through,
Mm-hmm.
but feel free to paint a picture for me there as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what would a beautiful future look like?
Oh, I appreciate the question. That's the number one tragedy in this entire world. I don't care where you go. You can go to Guatemala, you can go to Brazil, you can go to India, you can go to the Congo, or you can go to Portland, Oregon. The number one human tragedy is unrealized potential. That's the number one problem, no matter where you are on this planet. The our the gap between where we are and where we could be. That's the challenge that we have. And how do we close that gap? See, all of us, no matter where you go on this planet, no one has a monopoly on greatness. No one has a monopoly on love. No one has a monopoly on success. Everyone is born with an organic brilliance, but not everyone has the opportunity to showcase that. Not everyone has the chance to take that to a next level. So our job is literally to democratize opportunity. The American dream was created for a few, not for all. And so my vision, my goal is the same in America as it would be in any country, as it would be in the Congo. how do we democratize opportunity for all? That's it. So when I look at my Native American brothers and sisters, when I look at my Black brothers and sisters, when I look at my Hispanic brothers and sisters, when I look at, my LGBTQ community, when I look at women in this country, when I look at people with disability in this country, these are all folks that we need to democratize opportunity for. So every chance we get to even the playing field, that's really the call. And that's true here, and that's true anywhere around the world.
If people want more of you, which I think they might, how do they find you, Lou?
Easy. I'm easy like a Sunday morning. So you go on Google and you type Lou Radja, and that's it. My website is louradja.com or educongo.org. Just email me, call me. I'm easy. That's it.
Final words of wisdom, Lou? Anything you want to leave people with as they finish listening to this episode?
Did I already talk about Ubuntu? I'm not sure. Did I do that? did I do that? I mean, Aiden, help me out. I mean, I'm having amnesia.
I don't know. I think maybe.
Oh, I'm such a broken record. Oh my God.
It's great. I love it. Repeat until it lands,
Right. No, my challenge, and this is personal, so I'm part of this very challenge, is how do we live at the intersection of success and significance? And this is what happened with the duality of my life, growing up in the Congo and moving to America. What I found was, in this country, the emphasis is always on success. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, the American dream, the corporate ladder, all of these things. And people work hard for that. But success without significance feels empty.
Yes.
And so you meet people who are basically asking themselves, is this it? Why am I feeling this void? What is this emptiness coming from? And because there's no real meaning and purpose behind it. But then in the Congo and growing up in Africa, I saw a lot of people over-indexing on significance and purpose, which was great. But significance without success is not sustainable. And so both of them suck. And so how do you create a hybrid? Because success is about you taking the elevator to the top. Significance is about you sending it back down for others. And that's where you find meaning. So how do you create a hybrid? That's why my mantra is be more, give more. Be more is about success. Give more is about significance. So my goal in life is to always bridge those two. And if that's something your audience can use as well, the better.
Well, I think they can, and if they can't, I certainly will. So thank you. And thank you for spending time with me today, telling these stories and sharing your thoughts. I see why you are such an inspiration to so many, and I am very excited to be able to share you with my listeners.
Well, listen, we met in Ashland, Oregon, okay? This is way back in the days. And then here we are all these years later communicating and using this platform to try to make a difference. So I'm grateful to you for providing the platform, for inviting me and this opportunity to chat. So thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Ubuntu, I am because we are. Thank you, Lou. Life is a tapestry. Our limited views of the whole of human experience add up to one full picture. And without that collective perspective, we are essentially guessing about what is happening. Lou's stories of coming to Ashland, Oregon in the 90s are completely different from my experience there. But his story doesn't take away from what I knew growing up. In fact, it's the opposite. catching a glimpse of his experience through listening to his stories simply adds to our shared tapestry. As we move through life, the challenges, the opportunities, the successes, the tragedies, it is really easy to be consumed with our own self-oriented view of the world. And that makes perfect sense, of course. I mean, it's your ears, your eyes, your brain processing everything that you encounter. But if we can remember that our experiences individually only account for the tiniest view of humanity on planet Earth, perhaps we will be more inclined to stretch, to reach, to listen, and to seek to understand a few other perspectives so we can widen our view just that little bit more. And if we can remember that we're all connected, then those of us who are driven, smart enough, or simply lucky enough to ride the elevator to the top of success, we can then be more, give more, send that elevator back down so someone else can ride. Check out Lou Radja at bemoregivemore.com. And if you're inspired by this episode, share it with a friend so they can be inspired too. Thank you for listening or watching the Change Podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review so other people can find us. You'll be able to find the show notes for this episode at thechangepodcast.com. I'm Aiden Nepom. Thank you for listening. I wish you the kind of experiences in life you're excited to tell stories about.